I actually can enter any vertical I want, even with my background in the adult industry, despite what someone else might think about it or despite someone else's comfort with it. And we should feel empowered in doing so. Welcome back to On the Horizon. This is Melrose Michaels. I am your host, and I'm here to share what's worked for me in building my adult creator business to try to make building yours just a little bit easier. Let's get into today's episode. Hey, I wanted to take a little bit of a departure from our normal podcast episodes to talk about something that I think is really interesting and important, and I kind of wish more creators thought about this, but it is the idea that realistic goals actually have the most competition. And I think that this is really, really, one, motivating, and also it kind of gives us permission to dream bigger than we think we're allowed to as adult creators. Because I remember when I first got into the industry, right, this is 12 plus years ago, I was doing live webcam as my primary source of sex work. And I did that for 8 years, and I built my community, and I built this audience and this fan base, and it was fantastic. And I loved my time on live cam. But I remember thinking that I could never be a content creator, or I could never be a YouTuber, or I could never be a podcaster because I had done this work in adult, and I am in the adult industry, and people will only ever associate my name and my brand with porn. And I remember really feeling burdened by that because there's just so much I want to do as an entrepreneur, and getting into adult work for me personally was always kind of a means to an end. It was a great vehicle to come up with a lot of capital to have the funds to take risks and build businesses that I wanted to, pursue. So feeling that was really this weight on my shoulders of oh, I did this thing. I stepped into adult to get capital, to build other businesses and take on risk and try other things that I want to pursue. But because I got into adult, I'm maybe not able to do that. So it was this almost this cycle of just disappointment. Because the reason I had done it is also the reason I wouldn't be able to pursue other opportunities that caught my eye. And really what lifted the veil for me on this specific thing, this specific topic, was seeing what Lena the Plug had done. So I don't know if you followed Lena the Plug in her early days, but she kind of went on YouTube and was making these YouTube videos explaining about her adult career and her premium Snapchat business, and also made really good videos that were going viral. So one of the ones that she had made was, I let my boyfriend sleep with my best friend. And I remember watching this video in the living room of my house and being like, what? This is crazy. She's talking about adult work literally on YouTube. How is that possible? How is she not afraid of the repercussions of this? And I found the whole thing to be super inspiring because to my lens and in my perspective, I was watching this adult creator literally lay the foundation and the groundwork to also be a content creator on YouTube, something that I thought we just didn't have access to. And then before my eyes, I was watching someone do it and succeed at it. So that was really the first time that veil was lifted for me, where it's I actually can enter any vertical I want, even with my background in the adult industry. And I could attempt to build businesses in those spaces despite what someone else might think about it or despite someone else's comfort with it. And that was something I hadn't considered before. I just had this self-limiting belief that because I had this history in this past in adult, I was not allowed in these non-adult spaces. And I think that with OnlyFans coming into the picture and really starting to blur and bleed that line between content creator and adult creator, that has been a very powerful evolution for all of us to not just bear witness to, but be a part of. Because the more that line gets blurry, the more opportunities people who are coming from the adult space actually get to capitalize on. Another really great example of this is if you follow Lana Rhoades. Lana Rhoades really had a short career in the adult industry, but an impactful one. She rose to the top of the searches on Pornhub, and she had a lot of content come up pretty quickly. and then kind of left the adult space. But when she was dating, I think it's Mike Mojack, I might be saying his name wrong, but they started making these appearances on his YouTube videos and in his YouTube channel. And it was her making this almost transition to being a content creator. And also she had major, brand deals like with Fashion Nova on her Instagram. And she made this very hard and fast departure from adult, but then made a very hard and fast impact into mainstream content creation. And then that's even continued. If you follow her still to this day, she's walking in high-end fashion shows right now. Like, I just saw her do a post for Miu Miu, and I know she walked for another major fashion brand, and I believe it was even in Fashion Week. So there's all of these opportunities that are becoming available to us because some of these larger content creators or adult performers are taking the chance at stepping into mainstream and saying, I do belong here, and I do have value here, and I do have an audience that you want to reach. And the more we establish that and the more creators cross that line and put their foot down and kind of hold space for themselves, the bigger we're going to see things like this start to become. And I say this to circle back and say that realistic goals have the most competition. Like, that is the opening sentiment of this episode, because when we limit ourselves on the goals and we set them lower because we think that makes them more attainable somehow, or that makes them more worth chasing somehow, all we're doing is setting ourselves in with like a herd of people that are also chasing attainable goals, that are also settling in life because they're too afraid to try something outside the lane that they're in, or outside the niche that they're in, or outside the box that they've been put in. And I think that we should all really be discouraging that behavior. We should be dreaming as big as fucking possible. We should be taking chances and taking risks. And we should be stepping outside our comfort zones, because that is, after all, where all of the magic happens. And we should feel empowered in doing so. So that's really the message I wanted to share today. Like, this is a super short and sweet episode. But if anything, I just hope that you take away from this that you can dream bigger. And in fact, I fully believe that you should. So I hope you take this and you run with it, share it with another creator today, because it might be exactly the thing that they need to hear, or the thing that they feel they need permission to explore. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. It would be absolutely incredible if you rated this podcast 5 stars and left a little review. We want to get this podcast to as many adult creators as possible, and you taking a second to leave a couple stars and a review really helps us do that. Thanks so much.